What's up, everybody? Today is October 19th. In today's video, we're going to cover the death of Colin Powell, former U.S. Secretary of State under President George W. Bush in the early 2000s. And we're going to talk about how this connects to an ongoing riddle that I've been talking about on my blog over the past week about a potential World Series victory, or at least appearance, for the Atlanta Braves. So let's get into this right away. And we start with the fact that the main detail around this story is that Powell allegedly died of effects of COVID-19, the CV-19. However, he was fully vaccinated against the disease. And what the media is saying now is that, hey, this is a wake-up call for eligible adults to get vaccinated. So even if you took the vax, that's not enough. They want you to take more booster shots. And the CDC director, I noticed, was just on television the other day, and he himself said that over 40% of deaths from CV-19 are now in fully vaxxed adults or individuals, which is a pretty alarming number considering they were just telling us a few weeks ago that it was like 99.9% of people who were dying were unvaxxed. But this is a wide turnaround, and that's just the numbers they're telling us. It's probably a lot higher. But again, don't get your medical information from this channel, as I am not a doctor. Whenever we see stories like this, it's important to understand that not only is the media lying to us about what's going on with this CV-19, but those of us who are in the know about what's really happening are also being manipulated to an extent. And this is all in an attempt to further the divide between those who are awake and those who are still in the big flock of sheeple. So Powell was vaccinated against the disease, and he died on October 18th. Now, October 18th is a very significant date for the CV-19. Exactly 2 years prior to Powell's death on October 18th, there was a wide pandemic exercise called Event 201, held by the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, who is in large part responsible for counting the number of cases and deaths surrounding this whole thing. So how strange is it that Powell dies on the anniversary of this event? Of course, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was involved. And I guess a lot of people see this and think, wow, all these people are so smart. They knew exactly what was going to happen in just a few months. Of course, we know better. This was all just the planning phase for what we're now experiencing. But what I want to point out is that the FDA approved the Pfizer vaccine exactly 56 days before Colin Powell died. And the number 56 has been incredibly significant to the coronavirus, which has Gematria 56. Notice how COVID vaccine has this Gematria in the same cipher. Society of Jesus also equals 56. We'll talk about how this death is connected to the Jesuit order and their numerology. And really, coronavirus is about mind control, which equals 56. Remember how in the early stages, it was toilet paper that we were experiencing a shortage of for some strange reason. I guess corona was scaring the shit out of people. Not sure. This exercise on October 18th, 2019, was the same date as the 2019 World Military Games, which took place in the city of Wuhan, China. Wuhan, where 5G was first established, where the virus allegedly came from. And check out the opening ceremony date. That's right, October 18th, 2019, the same day as Event 201. 201 is the reverse alphabetic order of the Jesuit order, the reverse value. And currently, the Catholic Church is fronted by the first Jesuit pope in their history, and his name is Jorge Mario Bergoglio, also known as Pope Francis to us. And notice how his name also has this 201 value on it. The name Colin has matching gematria with the name, or with the word COVID in all four base methods, including the number 28. And the 28 stands out because Colin died exactly 28 weeks after his birthday. This is also the gematria of the word kill in the same cipher. We'll look at the eclipse numbers in a little bit. But a huge number with Colin Powell and why he is part of this whole thing is this ordinal value, Colin Luther Powell, summing to 220, using the standard 26-letter alphabetic order, the most basic cipher on the website. And 220 has been a huge number of the coronavirus pandemic, which also sums to 220. It's caused by orthocoronavirinae, 220. And Donald John Trump stepped in, his name equals 220, and enacted Operation Warp Speed, which is why the vaccines got out so quickly. That also equals 220. So how funny that Colin Powell, now dead after taking the vaccine, and he's got that number right there. Back in February, we had this teen singer, Olivia Rodrigo, come to the White House and tell everyone to get vaccinated. And check out her birthday, February 20th, 220. They love this number. If you measure from the date that the United States declared a national emergency for COVID, which was March 13th of last year, notice how Powell's death falls a span of 220 days after that anniversary. This is also 83 weeks since the beginning of the pandemic. The name Powell in the alphabetic order equals 83. 83 also the value of murder using the reverse order. So this 220 of coronavirus pandemic is very significant, but this 293 has also been a very important number. March 13th, when that national emergency was declared, was the date that leaves 293 days in the year. Notice how the name Powell has satanic gematria of 293. His full name is also 239, the same digits. And his death fell exactly 29 months and 3 weeks before the next time the United States will see the corona of the sun. Of course, the sun's corona only visible during a total solar eclipse. Powell's death at the age of 84 also connects to this code. That eclipse falls on the 8th of April, or the date written 8/4 internationally. Solar eclipse equals 804, and the 84th prime number in Gematria. The sun, with the surrounding corona, is the symbol of the Jesuit order, also known as the Society of Jesus more formally. Of course, the word Jesuit equals 84, so does the Jesuit order. And look at the date numerology of Powell's death, 69 and 33. He was the former U.S. Secretary of State, which equals 69. The Jesuit order sums to 69 in reduction. Order equals 33. The numbers 69 and 33 also in the value of the word eclipse. And no doubt this measures up with the Great American Eclipses very nicely. So in order to expand on this riddle, let's talk about how this connects to a post I made earlier this week discussing the numerology of the 4 remaining baseball teams in the MLB postseason. And what I did before the NLCS and ALCS started is put together a list of every participating team's totals regarding wins and losses in franchise history, with a separate row for playoff records, also looking at the coaches of these teams. And what I was looking for here was just to see if any of the numbers in the right column stuck out to me in relation to numerology about things that have been going on so far this year. And these numbers that popped up for the Braves really stuck out to me. So it prompted me to make this post on October 15th saying that, hey, of all the teams that are remaining, it really looks like the Braves have the best riddle. And this all has to do with the January death of Hank Aaron, Major League Baseball's all-time home run king. Of course, he lost the title to Barry Bonds, but with an asterisk, I suppose. The Braves also had the death of Hall of Famer Phil Niekro this past offseason. And in addition to that, Don Sutton, another Braves Hall of Famer, died in the offseason. And Don Sutton, his death I did a video on as well, was connected to the Dodgers World Series. And he's, in fact, spent most of his career playing for the Dodgers, but Don Sutton is also in the Braves Hall of Fame. And this is because he began broadcasting for the Braves back in the year 1989 and held the job for almost 20 years. Now, notice how Don Sutton's last broadcast partner was Jim Powell. And Jim Powell was a radio broadcaster for the Milwaukee Brewers prior to moving to Atlanta. And of course, the Atlanta Braves came from the city of Milwaukee. The Milwaukee Brewers is the only other team Hank Aaron played for. And Aaron's death was just 2 days after the death of Ted Thompson, the Packers executive who drafted Aaron Rodgers. Of course, Aaron Rodgers, this year's big sports hero in Wisconsin. The other big sports hero in Wisconsin this year is Giannis Antetokounmpo, also known as the Greek Freak. He won a title with the Milwaukee Bucks this season. And how strange is it that the Atlanta Braves general manager is Alex Anthopoulos, who is also Greek? So I guess we can get into the numbers. I'm jumping around a lot. But I've spent a lot of time discussing this year why I think this year's World Series is going to be connected to the 1989 season. And this was all really confirmed beginning in August when Major League Baseball held their Field of Dreams game. The film Field of Dreams was released in the year 89, and it starred Kevin Michael Costner, who introduced the teams on the field before the game. His name equals 89. And then the score of that Field of Dreams game was 8-9. The following month, we had a no-hitter thrown by the Milwaukee Brewers by Corbin Burns, and that was a clear riddle connected to Corbin Burnson, who was in the movie Major League, which was also released in the year 89. And in the film Major League, it follows the Cleveland Indians, but the film is recorded in Milwaukee at County Stadium. And then the Milwaukee Brewers threw a no-hitter against the Cleveland Indians in interleague play this year. So there's been a lot of 89, and I remembered the 1989 World Series, which was a very unique World Series as it was delayed 10 days by the Loma Prieta earthquake that occurred shortly before Game 3. That World Series featured the San Francisco Giants. And I thought, how funny would it be if the Giants, having a great year like they were, ended with 107 wins. And then sure enough, the Giants end up with a record of 107-55. And notice how the word earthquake equals 107-55. The team that won the World Series in 89 was the Oakland A's, and they were managed by Tony La Russa, who just came out of retirement this year after 10 years to take the Chicago White Sox to the postseason. So there was obviously a lot going on in Major League Baseball connected to 1989. But now that the San Francisco Giants have been knocked out, this forces us to take a deeper look into the numbers, which I hadn't done before. And this is how I came up with this little prediction here. And again, all predictions wrong or your money back on this channel. In regards to the number 107, if you go back 107 years ago, before 2021, you get to the 1914 World Series, which happened to be the Boston Braves' first championship. Notice how Boston Braves even has Gematria of 107. Furthermore, 1989 was 32 years ago. Using the alphabetic order, Atlanta, Georgia sums to 131, which is the 32nd prime number. This is also the value of championship in the same cipher. So perhaps that's the riddle, right? And then again, we talk about Don Sutton, who started broadcasting for the Braves in 1989, last worked with a man named Powell, and then just died this past offseason, shortly after the Dodgers won the World Series. Worth mentioning, too, that shortly after I made the video on Don Sutton, his son Darren Sutton, who used to commentate on television for the Milwaukee Brewers, just got hired by the Los Angeles Angels in the offseason. All right, but back to the numbers. What I also found is a tremendous riddle with not only the head coach or manager of the Braves, as I should say, but also the general manager, Alex Anthopoulos. So we're talking about how 1989 is such a big number, right? Well, if the Braves make the World Series, Game 1 would take place on Brian Snitker's 1989th day as manager of the team. Now, the Braves have not won a World Series since 1995. Game 6 of this year's World Series falls 1,995 days after Brian Snitker was hired. In this number, we get the digits 995. This brings us to the general manager of the Braves, Alex Anthopoulos, whose name sums to 995. Anthopoulos was hired 207 weeks before the World Series Game 6. Notice how his name also equals 207. Now, the Braves' World Series championship in 1995 was the first one to occur after the 1994 MLB players' strike. In 1994, I've been talking about this number a lot lately. We just mentioned how Giannis Antetokounmpo won the NBA championship, another Greek. And this is, of course, shortly after they began using Greek letters to name these coronavirus variants. Giannis was born in the year 1994. We had the no-hitter thrown by the Milwaukee Brewers, Corbin Burns, who was also born in 1994. Was Josh Hader born in 1994 too? Yeah, he was. So he was the guy who closed out the no-hitter. He threw the final inning. And Josh Hader also 1994. 994 is the English gematria of total solar eclipse. And it does appear that there is a highly significant eclipse riddle connected to this year's World Series. And we start with the fact that Game 6 of the World Series would fall a span of 33 days before this year's one and only total solar eclipse. 33, a significant number to Atlanta, abbreviated ATL, which sums to 33 in ordinal. The city sits on the 33rd parallel. The word eclipse has gematria of 33, and so does the last name Snitker. In ordinal, eclipse equals 69 and 120, which matches Atlanta in the alphabetic order. And something that just dawned on me is that we had a mass shooting in Atlanta earlier this year. And that shooting was completely connected to the number 69. In fact, let me pull this post up. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. All right, so in March, I said we had these shootings at 3 spas in Atlanta as part of an eclipse ritual. And that shooting was 3 months and 3 days after the total solar eclipse. False flag equals 33. The shooter was named Robert, 33. The final shooting was at a spa with 69 gematria. The shooting was exactly 69 months after Dylan Storm Roof's church shooting. And the reason I made this connection is because this is the only time I've seen the mass shooters. Look at the gear they're wearing after their arrest. It's basically the same. They put these like bulletproof vests on the kids. Very similar. And those shootings were 69 months apart. This shooting from Dylan Storm Roof was even in South Carolina, which was the last state to see the 2017 American eclipse. Meanwhile, this guy on the left is said to be from Woodstock, Georgia. And think about the Woodstock Festival from 69. So those shootings, look at that, oh my goodness. Those shootings would be exactly 33 weeks before the Braves win the World Series. So is this connected? I think it might be. But here's the real kicker. Look how many wins the Braves franchise would have all time, both regular season and playoffs included, if they win. They would have 10,920. With the zeros dropped, this is 192. 192 is the Jewish gematria of the word eclipse. Coach Brian Snitker would get his 463rd win with the team, regular season and playoffs included. 463 is the gematria of total eclipse in the same cipher. This would be Brian Snitker's 22nd win in the playoffs with the Braves. Total solar eclipse equals 202, like the number 22, also 67. And look at the gematria of Braves, 22, 67. It's been 22 years since the Braves made the World Series as well. That was back in 1999. Brian Snitker's ordinal gematria and his life lesson number both sync up with total eclipse. His full name also equals 88. The Braves won 88 games during the regular season. This is another number connected to the sun and the moon, which create the 88 in the sky throughout their phases. So another significant eclipse number is 666. And I've done a lot of work on this. I have a little PDF presentation that I have linked on here if you want to click that. And it explains everything about why 666 is connected to the eclipse code and the moon. And again, the Braves last made the World Series in 1999, which has an upside-down 666. On the date of Game 1 of the World Series, Brian Snitker would be 66 years and 9 days old, which is a nice little upside-down 6, like we mentioned. And check out the last name of the general manager, Anthopoulos. His name equals 669, right? How perfect. A lot of people actually believe the number of the beast is 616. Check out my video on Chris Paul if you want to learn more about this. Well, Game 6 of the World Series, and remember Game 6 equals 666, Snitker would be 66 years and 16 days old. So 666, 616, you got them both right there in his ages. To top it off, World Series Game 6 also falls 1,669 days after the opening of Truist Park, which is where the Braves play their home games. And Game 6 falling on the date November 2nd, 666 equals 211, like how the date November 2nd is written in the rest of the world. 666 also equals 95, like Braves 95. So out of all of these potential records for the teams that are remaining, I don't see a greater riddle than this. Now, there's other things you could say, like, could it be the Dodgers against the Astros, right? We've had a lot of things going on with space travel this year, with Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, William Shatner all going to the edge of space. And, of course, California is where SpaceX is headquartered. The Houston Astros, obviously, connected to NASA. And the Dodgers want their revenge over the Astros sign stealing in the 2017 World Series. But, man, this Braves riddle is really, really strong. And Again, I made this post on the 15th, which was before the beginning of the NLCS, and now the Braves have jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Kind of unexpected, right? Not by me. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Dodgers tied at 2-2 before the series goes back to Atlanta, but we shall see. So, how does the death of Colin Powell further this potential riddle? Well, in the alphabetic order, Atlanta Braves sums to 136, like Colin Powell 136. And he died on October 18th, which is very similar to the English extended gematria of Atlanta Braves. His death fell 15 days or 2 weeks and 1 day before a potential Atlanta World Series victory. Atlanta and ATL both summed to 15 and 21. And again, he died on a date with 69 and 33 numerology. Atlanta 69, ATL 33. These are both eclipse numbers, as we discussed. And if Atlanta wins in Game 6, ATL equals 6 in reduction. Just a thought. But here's where it gets really weird. If you measure from the birthday of Hank Aaron to the birthday of Colin Powell, you get exactly 38 months. And the name Hank Aaron sums to 38 in reduction. Colin Powell's death fell 8 months and 3 weeks after Hank Aaron. And both Hank Aaron and Powell equal 83 in gematria. Remember, the word murder equals 38 and 83 in reverse. Hank Aaron's number that is retired by both the Milwaukee Brewers and the Atlanta Braves is 44. And again, the Atlanta Braves beat the Milwaukee Brewers in the playoffs already. The Atlanta Braves, of course, used to play in Milwaukee. And before that, they played in Boston. And how wild would it be if, after beating the Milwaukee team, that the Atlanta Braves could also beat the Boston Red Sox in the World Series? So the number of Hank Aaron is 44. Hammer and Hank retired 44 in both Wisconsin and Georgia, the only two states to have reduction gematria of 44. And you may recall that the final game, Game 4 between the Brewers and Braves, it was 4-4 until Freddie Freeman, whose initials start with F just like 4, broke the tie. In Game 2, we had another 4-4 tie broken late. The Atlanta Braves currently have the number 44 etched in their outfield. Atlanta's area code is 404. Milwaukee's is 414. If the Braves win Game 6 of the World Series, it would be 40 weeks and 4 days after Hank Aaron passed away. The word kill equals 44 in the alphabetic order. And Colin Powell died exactly 44 weeks after the last time the sun's corona could be seen from Earth. And December 14th just happens to be the date that the first CV-19 received emergency use authorization, the same day as we could see the corona from Earth. Just to top off some of these connections, Colin Luther Powell has gematria of 86, whereas Henry Louis Aaron is 84. Colin Powell died at the age of 84, whereas Henry Louis Aaron died at the age of 86. Colin Luther Powell also equals 239 in gematria, and 239 is the 52nd prime number. The names Hank Aaron and Henry Aaron both sum to 52. So does the Atlanta Braves in standard reduction. And Colin Powell's birth was on the 95th day of the year, Braves 95. We just mentioned this number a little bit ago. So, what do you guys think? To me, this is pretty overwhelming. Again, to me, I think it speaks to at least a Braves appearance in the World Series, but given the riddles with the number of wins, I would really, really be surprised if the Braves do not win the World Series. And you got to admit, this would be a pretty good prediction, given that the Braves were the least likely team to win with 4 remaining. Maybe I'm patting myself on the back too early. I don't usually do proactive sports decodes like this because, it's easy for someone to say, oh, you got a sports game wrong, so therefore all numerology is BS. But, we know better. And this isn't the first time I've done this. Remember, I called the Buccaneers with 4 teams left based on this exact same thing. Number of franchise wins, number of wins by the coach, all these things. It's really the same thing every year. And I understand this isn't the simplest table to look at, but essentially you have total regular season wins here, total regular season losses, and then you can add the playoff wins and losses over here to the right side. Same thing with the coaches. Most of these coaches have duplicate numbers because they never coached another team. However, Dusty Baker, you'll see he's got a much bigger coaching record than just his Astros record. And this is because Dusty Baker's been coaching for decades and decades. So yeah, if you've got other thoughts, leave them down in the comments below. Am I losing my mind by looking at these numbers a little bit too closely, or are we truly tapping into something with this year's World Series? Again, let me know what you think in the comments. But that'll wrap it up for this video. Thanks to everybody for popping in. Peace, love, God bless, and talk to you next time. See ya.